Have you ever been on a podcast before or anything?
No, first time. First time.
I'm so excited because normally what I do with Sonic Seekers, I try to avoid asking people the same questions they get asked over and over again. But I couldn't find any interviews out there with you.
Well, we did a few when we had Willie Sugar Capps together.
Yeah.
But I didn't do many.
I'm kind of excited because this will be an opportunity to kind of introduce you and your story and your life and your career.
My story.
To everybody's got a story, you know?
Yeah, I don't.
Get yourself on home, boy. Sugar. You've been gone too long, child. You've been gone too long.
By the time I was in ninth grade, a friend of mine called and said, "Hey, get your guitar. We're going to go to this party and jam." And I'm like, "Jam? We're going to jam." I only know a few chords. We went, and there were two guys that were playing, and they could play very good. And then we started playing. It was outside at someone's house off Ziegler Boulevard. And me and my friend Terry started playing, and everybody went inside. I guess I do have a story. The young girl came over and she said, "Can I see your guitar?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So she started playing the introduction to Stairway to Heaven.
Wow.
And I'm like, so I kind of zeroed in on what she was doing, went home and figured it out, most of it, at least the intro. And I guess I started really getting interested then, realized, hey, this can actually be done.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
Welcome to Sonic Seekers, where we get to know musicians on a deeper level and get to hear a little bit about what's important to them and also hear some of their music. I'm your host, Emily Schuler, and this podcast is for musicians and music lovers alike. Do you identify as a music nerd? Are you one of those people that likes to annoy your friends with little-known facts about songs and artists? Do you get excited when someone hands you their aux cord on a road trip? Do you rarely hand your cord to someone on a road trip? And if you do, they really, really know that you love them? Do people hate playing Name That Tune against you? This podcast is probably for you if you answered yes to any of those questions. It's probably for you if you can't stand small talk but love to have deep and meaningful conversations. Join me as I take a deep dive into the minds of incredibly talented musicians as we search for deeper meaning and purpose in life through music. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Sonic Seekers. I'm here today with Corky Hughes. He is a good old friend of mine. We've been friends for 20 years, I guess, because I started taking lessons from him when I was 14, I believe, and I'm 34 now, so I was thinking about that earlier today. I was like, how long have we known each other?
Wow.
But welcome, Corky.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Emily.
agreeing to do it. I'm so excited about this. Just for the listeners and potential viewers, Corky taught me guitar, my dad, and my cousin. So we've known each other a long time. And Corky is also a guitar virtuoso.
I play guitar. I can go that far.
He is currently... How long have you been playing with Grayson?
Going on 14 years now.
Okay.
Who did you say it was, brother? Who was it fell by the way? When whiskey and blood run together, did you hear anyone pray? I didn't hear nobody pray, dear brother.
Yeah, so he plays lead guitar for Grayson Capps. I know you guys did the Lost Cause Minstrels for a while. Was the Lost Cause Minstrels originally your band? Or?
Grayson's, he released the album Lost Cause Minstrels, so it kind of went
Just grew
with
from
a
that.
theme, yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got that on vinyl, and I've got it signed by you and Grayson, at least. I can't remember who
great.
else signed it, but I have a little section at my house of all the typical records are alphabetized. I'm a little bit psycho with my organization of books and records and things.
I wish I could do that. Wonder.
And then I've got a section that's like local musicians or people that I know of my
Sure.
vinyls. So those are all alphabetized too, but those are my treasures. Either people who I know locally or people who have played at the People's Room. If I get a vinyl, I always get them to sign it. So the Grayson Capps and the Lost Cause Minstrels album is one of my treasures.
Oh, great. We're glad it's in there.
Wine, women, and sing. John, he stand on the sidewalk, spits down on the ground, singing, I'm the son of a pirate, you better lay your money down. It's just time to...
I saw you guys play at, it's not Moe's, it was a barbecue place that used to be by South Alabama.
Oh, that was the Shed.
Yeah.
The short-lived.
I forgot we had the Shed in Mobile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw you guys there. It was like 2011.
Yeah,
or
that was in the
12.
location of Solomon's
Yes.
that used to be there. And Solomon's was there for a long time, but the Shed didn't last very long.
They've still got a bunch of them in Mississippi, but I guess the one in Mobile just couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
It was a little close to the brick pit, though.
Right.
So
and
maybe
then
they were
the brick
competing.
pit's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I was thinking about the brick pit the other day. That was
Yeah.
treasure.
Definitely.
What got you into music and wanting to play the guitar?
My dad played banjo. He didn't play bluegrass. He played swing, some Dixieland. So he played tenor, 4-string with a pick,
Very
not
cool.
finger picking. And he called it jump music. And he was semi-professional before I was born. And then he had a family, and he never played banjo when I was a child. But my sister had bought a guitar for my older brother before I was born, and he didn't learn to play. And
You just
brother and
collected
sister,
dust.
they moved off, got married, and the guitar stayed at the house. And my dad played that. He played guitar also, and he showed me a few chords and kind of got into it a little bit, just interested. But I got an electric guitar. I got more interested when I was a teenager. I guess when I was 13, I got a Sears. Well, my mother, for my birthday, purchased a inexpensive acoustic at Woolsworth.
Woolsworth.
Yeah, my father came home and was fairly disgusted with it and said, take that thing back and get your money back for it. And he got the classifieds out and found a Silvertone Twin 12
Ooh.
amp with a guitar for $75.
Wow.
And so that was my first amp, which is a great amp. I didn't know it was great then, but they're desirable amps. And then I was more interested in mini bikes and
Yeah.
motorcycles. And then my cousin, Mike, wanted to trade his custom Roland Tuck custom amplifier for my motorcycle. A Suzuki 90. And I asked my parents, is it okay if I trade my motorcycle? Yes.
In the early morning rain, with $1 in my hand and aching in my heart and my pockets full of sand.
Yeah, they didn't care what I was going to trade it for. If I was trading down, they didn't mind. Glad to see it go.
They saw it as you trading death for life.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Right.
No place to go. Out on one-way number 9.
I remember from when you taught me guitar that you play by ear very well. Have you always kind of had that gift or that ability to pick things out?
It comes in handy, and I read music. I'm not sight reading. It's difficult to just sit down and sight read something. Chords are easy to read, the chord chart. But I took piano lessons for a long time when I was a child, about 9 years.
Wow.
And I could sight read pretty good back then. But those skills are rock music. You don't really tend to, so it kind of chops are not up on the reading so much.
So playing piano kind of helped you learn to play by ear?
Yeah,
pick things out by ear?
You have a foundation of what's going on.
I'm in school right now. I am majoring in music with a focus in composition, and I had to have piano as my secondary. I'm not a pianist. I did take lessons when I was younger, but I never stuck with it. So it will be challenging, but I'm really excited to learn it because I feel like it is going to create a very solid foundation for my composition, which even no matter what I learn with composition and all that, I will always lean more towards the feeling. A girl that I interviewed, my last interview I did with Lauren Woodall, we were talking about in songwriting, you have to have that element of humanity. And I feel like if you get too focused on the theory and the particulars, you can lose that humanity a little bit. But I am very excited to learn as much as I can about piano.
That's great. That's great.
That's interesting that you brought that up, and that makes sense that you played piano for so long and you have that ability to pick out things.
Yeah, and when I was doing lessons, I always tried to encourage. A lot of people want nothing to do with music, reading music or theory. It's not rocket science, and I've always tried to encourage them, just get a handle on it, and then you'll be able to pick up a piece of sheet music and see what the notes are. Song that you're wanting to learn that's maybe difficult to hear by ear, there's the notes. And also, as far as theory goes, you just take however much you need at the time. And if there's something, then you come to something else that you want to understand. You can look it up.
Yeah.
Now we have even Wikipedia. You can look up musical terms and find out all about it.
Yeah. I wasn't too worried about music theory going into this semester. I was very scared about learning French. And then I start classes and French, piece of cake. Music theory, I'm like, duh. I mean, I took voice lessons from the time I was 8 until I graduated high school. And so I had to have a little bit of theory in that.
Yeah.
But I never got super deep into it. And the conclusion that I have come to, I mean, I know this is a commonly known thing, but music theory is basically math. And as a creative person, some people are blessed with having a creative mind and a mind for numbers and things. I do not have that. I'm creative all the way, so I've never been good at math. I can barely help Finn with his 4th grade math homework.
I hate math. I hated math.
So, when I got into theory, I was just like, oh boy. But I'm starting to pick it up a little bit, but it's just interesting, the things that I'm learning about music and my perspective and different things on it.
Yeah, a lot of people call it math, and I see the numbers. You can count the intervals, 1, 2, 3, and 3. The third is either major or minor, but there's no adding or subtracting.
There's division and multiplication. Like what we're doing right now we'll start with a quarter note, and within a quarter note, you've got 2 eighth notes and also 4 16th notes, and then you've got meter and all the different things.
Yeah.
It's all swirling around my brain like birds whenever somebody hits their head in a cartoon. It's like, but I'm starting to pick things up. It's definitely a learning curve.
Cool.
Because I've always gone more on feel than theory, I guess. Did you have any other formal training other than piano lessons, or it just kind of happened?
Yeah, no guitar lessons, pointers from friends, people that showed me chords or this or that, but no real lessons. My neighbor's grandson, Terry Goins, showed me some things. My cousin, Mike Stacy, showed me some things. But you pick up stuff from other musicians. Mm-hmm. And when I was learning to play, if you wanted to learn a song, you couldn't go to the grocery store and buy a magazine that has the latest hits back then. You had to take the album, put it and move the tone arm, back and back and back and try and hear it. And it was worse with an 8-track because you had to wait till the track came back around. But you might learn another song in the meantime.
Yeah.
Because you got to listen to the next tune as it goes around. Now you can get on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Somebody will show you exactly how to play it.
Yeah, pretty much any song you can imagine.
Yeah, any song.
Crazy. So were you born in Mobile?
I was, yeah. Mobile Infirmary.
Okay. Oh, no, I was born at Spring Hill. I was going to say I was born.
That's okay.
I got a bag of weed, a case of beer, a little George Dickel, some American spirits. Spend the night out in the woods, hope it might do me some good. Some good.
Just down the road a little bit. So tell me a little bit about Excalibur.
Yeah, we wanted to be famous. Well, on a sad note, our first version of the band, which was never very popular, we got together summer of 75. We stayed together for, 6 months maybe, not long, but we played the Tiki on Holcomb Avenue, and that was our last gig, actually. We had a big sign that we had left there, and the next week, the Tiki burned down.
Oh.
But that wasn't why we broke up. But unfortunately, David Mims, the bassist in that band, recently passed away.
Oh, no.
And singer Raymond Cooper, he's been gone a number of years, unfortunately. But then later on, around 80, 81, we got it together with some other members, some good friends, and we played locally at the Sahara Club often. We were a house band, more or less, out Highway 90. It was a rock bar, one of the few rock bars at that time. And we played in Pensacola. We played the Barrels in Pensacola a lot, and down in Florida, Playground South and Jacksonville and Sarasota. We had some original tunes, and the only recording was for a 97 Rock to Riches, which was more or less a talent contest, but everyone submitted a recording. And we went to the studio and recorded one song, and we didn't win.
Aww.
But
that was going to be my next. I was going to ask if there's any recorded music.
Oh, yeah. I found 2 copies of the album at Goodwill a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, my goodness. I would love to hear one of those.
We were that popular that people donated their album to Goodwill. Well, anyway.
So how long were you guys together?
I don't remember, 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Not a long time. It seemed like a long time back then.
And it was a heavy metal band, right?
Yeah, hard rock.
Okay.
Yeah. Not so much metal, but yeah, hard rock.
Gotcha.
We did a lot of Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
Our songs the originals were, I would say they were kind of like Iron Maiden, sort of. That type hard rock.
Yeah.
Similar to that. Little riffs and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw a pretty good Iron Maiden cover band in Nashville. My mom and I went to see Alanis Morissette, and we were looking for something to do the night before the concert and found them. And it was a Pantera cover band and an Iron Maiden cover band, and they were pretty amazing.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that's awesome. I remember when I was doing Playhouse in the Park, right around the time that I started taking lessons from you, I was telling Danny Melise, I was like, yeah, I started guitar lessons. And he's like, oh, who are you taking lessons from? And I told him you, and he was like, oh, man, Corky's a good friend of mine. And he told me all about Excalibur, and I was like, oh.
Danny is a great guitarist.
Yes, he is. I saw him and Pam, or I see them sporadically, but I miss those days I did Playhouse from, my entire childhood, pretty much, from the time I was 5 until I graduated. Those were fun days.
What's it called now? It's not called Playground in the Playhouse in the Park.
It's just Playhouse in the Park. It used to be Pixie Playhouse.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it used to be.
They changed it to Playhouse in the Park. And he told me all about Excalibur. I was like, man, I wish I could have been around to see that.
Yeah, we had fun. And that was back when if a band wanted to compete in the market, you had to have your own PA, your own lights, and the more of that you had, better the gigs.
Yeah.
And now we had to rent a truck every time we had to go somewhere, so it was kind of silly.
Yeah, now most places have all their own setup.
Yeah.
Was it before that you toured or that you played with Theodore Arthur Jr.?
That was before all that, after the first version of Excalibur. But yeah, I was 19.
Okay.
And joined up with Theodore Arthur in Reality. And Theodore, I learned a lot from Theodore, a whole lot about music and the business.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not interested in the business so much, I've learned a lot from him and played some, well, there weren't crazy places, but places where I wouldn't have gone on my own. But I was always safe and played the Hi-Hat Club in south of Hattiesburg. And that was crazy. No, it wasn't crazy. And we played the Daishiki, which was over that way. And that was wild. The only time it was a little bit weird at the Daishiki, we opened for Millie Jackson. And the place was jam-packed. And after we played, and I wanted to stay for the show, they said, you stay here behind the bar. They didn't want me out in the crowd. But they were taking care of me and watching out for me.
Yeah. And then, so you toured with Black Oak, Arkansas.
I did 2 tours, 2 long tours, months, several months each time, all over the country, almost every state.
So how was that experience?
That was crazy. I said we were booked in Alaska, but it fell through. So it was pretty wild. I have stories, but they're best left to imagination. One I could tell, I think, would be when I first joined up, we went straight up the Midwest. That weekend, I had been in the band like 5 days, I guess. And we played in Milwaukee, and they were going to do a simulcast on the radio. And they asked Jim Dandy, said, all right, this is going out on the air. So when he would speak in between songs, sometimes it could be fairly rude and crude. And they said, watch it on the mic. Yeah, right, okay. First song, he said, he let it fly, and we're like, oh, wow. I guess they're going to cut that off. As the show went on, started looking around, started seeing police officers all through the building, all around the stage.
Oh, man.
And I stepped over to the guitar tech and I said, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, it can't be because he's cursing on the microphone, and it's because they can't arrest him for that. So nobody knew. And then when we finished playing, found out that a promoter his lawyer had the police department, or policemen, maybe they were off duty, I don't know, but anyway, seize all of our equipment.
Oh my gosh.
And at the time there were probably more than one band masquerading as Black Oak, Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
And Jim Dandy at that time, due to some legal something or another, he could not call it, but he had to call it Jim Dandy's Black Oak, Arkansas.
Wow.
So anyway, they loaded all of our equipment up, and it's like, I'm watching them, and I'm like, I don't even know these guys. I'm like, what, you're taking my... Well, it's too bad. So anyway, they said, okay, they had to pay a few $100s and get our equipment back. And then this promoter followed us all to the next 4 or 5 gigs, followed us up into Minnesota and Wisconsin, back and forth. And at the end of each gig, he was getting a share of the money to get reimbursed for them supposedly not showing up for a gig. Somebody didn't show up, and I don't know. I wasn't around back then, so maybe they didn't show up, but I'd like to believe that it was someone else.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I hadn't had it happen since.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
So how did you land that gig? How did that come to be?
Yeah, Excalibur had opened for them a couple of times. And then a guy that did lights for us called me. He also did lights for Black Oak, Arkansas. He had toured with them with his light show. He called up and said they need a guitarist. Excalibur had just broken up. I bet if you go over to Panama City and sit in with them, I bet you'll get the gig. It did.
That's awesome.
So it worked out, yeah.
Yeah. Are you on any of their albums or anything? Or are you just touring?
No. I wrote a song. I put some chords together, which doesn't mean you wrote a song. You have to have lyrics and melody. But I wrote this song with Jim, and they later released it, and My name's not on it anywhere, but I can't complain about it because just because I came up with the chords doesn't, I'm okay with it.
That's a little hairy.
Oh, it'd have been nice to get a little credit, but oh well, yeah.
That sounds like a good time, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All over the country.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was too much fun. It was too much fun.
I imagine so, especially in that era of time. So when did you move to Atlanta?
85 or 6. I think it was 86. Nancy and I moved up there. Was there for 6, 7 years. Played with Daryl Rhodes and the Mighty Mighty Men from Glad. And did an album with Daryl, No Glove, No Love. It's the name of it. And it's still available. It's good. It's produced by Brendan O'Brien, who's a fabulous producer, engineer. Did the Chili Peppers and all kind of people. He's Bruce Springsteen. He's a heavy-duty cat.
Wow.
And he did that album for Daryl. And then I played with Tone Poets. We did some recordings, but they were on cassette. So I don't know how many have survived.
They're out there somewhere.
I played with a guy, Chris Edmonds, who was in a lot of popular bands in Atlanta before that and probably after that too. And then moseyed on back to Mobile.
What made you guys decide to go to Atlanta? Just the music scene or?
Yeah. Wasn't a whole lot happening in Mobile back then.
Yeah.
The downtown scene had not taken hold yet. It wasn't nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot for a musician to do. There were just a handful of things. A lot of the years ago, before early 70s, or probably most of the 70s and the 60s before I played out, there were a lot of honky-tonk gigs and stuff, and there were places that had live entertainment like 6 nights a week.
Wow.
That wasn't happening anymore, and so it was hard, not much for a musician to do. So it was between Atlanta or Austin, and decided on Atlanta. It's closer, and I knew more people in Atlanta. I had a lot of friends up there. And
it's always good to go somewhere where you have connections.
We liked it, but you get on 285 and you park. You come to it. You only got to go a couple of miles, and it takes an hour, which should have taken 10 minutes. And it's like, this is really getting old. My father had a stroke and needed to come back home.
Yeah. I was going to ask when and how you and Nancy met.
When I was out playing with Jim Dandy, they had a gig booked in town, and I came to town early. I took a bus and came up a few days early, and me and my friend Lonnie went out on the town, and I saw her at the Max, and I was like, wow, Lonnie, look at this, look at that. I like her. And then, well, I was too shy to go up. I have this dance. I didn't do that. But then we went to the place, Mike's Dixie Club, which is out on Highway 90. And that's where we were booked to play the next night. And I saw her talking to a friend of mine. And I said, oh, I can meet her now. So I said, introduce me. And got her phone number. Yeah, that's how.
The rest is history.
I first ran into Stoney, a bar downtown. It's Richmond, Virginia. We were bumming around.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We've been married 30 years, and we lived in sin about 8 years before that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, she's definitely a gem. She is wonderful.
She's cool. She loves you.
I love her too. I had to ask about that. I know it's not music related, but I was definitely curious. Do you still do any teaching at all?
Do some, I don't call it so much teaching now, but I have a few people that come by the house and we pick a little bit, and they want to give me a couple of dollars, and I'm like, oh no, man, this is just for fun. And like, they insist. I don't argue. Yeah.
I feel like as long as I've known you, you've just played and taught music. What other kinds of jobs have you had throughout the years?
Well, I've done live sound a certain amount. I worked for some sound companies, it was necessary in Atlanta to supplement. The gigs didn't pay much.
Yeah.
Back then, it was pitiful, actually. But sound men always do pretty good. As a matter of fact, the Tone Poets played a couple of times at a place in Little Five Points that was called The Point. We had a good show one night, and we went to get paid, and they said, y'all did good. You almost made money. And we were like,
oh, my God.
Come again? Well, yeah, you did $96 at the door. And we're like, oh, well, okay, great. They said, oh, well, but the first $50 goes to the sound man, and the next $50 goes to the doorman. And so you owe us $4. No, actually, they didn't say that. But the opening band comes to us, and they're like wanting their share. And we're like,
here's your share of nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, I did sound, worked for Atlanta Sound and Light, and I worked for a plexiglass fabricating company. We made all sorts of things out of plexiglass, like displays, and we built and installed all the dirty book displays in all the bookstores at Hartsville Airport.
Wow.
We built them, took them there in a truck, and went all through the airport. It's a big airport.
Yeah.
And
huge.
Took all day to install those. And first time I flew into Atlanta, come here, let me show you I built those.
I made this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was back when they had the books flat and they have a cover of them. And the cover had what the magazine was, so children wouldn't see the cover, which was, anyway. Yeah. I routed the tip of my finger off on a router. I always wore gloves when possible. And the other people that worked said, you ought not wear gloves. I'm like, well, I play guitar. I need to protect my hand. Okay. And so the router grabbed my glove. It got close enough. If I hadn't had the gloves on, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And when it grabbed the glove, it yanked my hand into the router.
Oh, man.
And I had a gig that night. And
did you pull a Tony Iommi?
Took a electrical tape and wrapped it on so I could mash the string down. And it was sensitive for a long time. It's fine now.
That's dedication.
Well, I was fortunate. It was bad enough then, but it healed.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I imagine that was very scary in that moment. Like, oh my gosh, my guitar, my guitar playing.
Yeah. You'll be Tony Iommi.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, I actually listened to his autobiography. I listened to all the ones that are available. Bill Ward does not have an autobiography, although I'm hoping that he will write one. But it was really interesting hearing him tell that story and how he had to recover mentally because he kind of was on the road to giving up playing guitar because he was so discouraged. And I think he said it was a teacher of his, like from school or somebody like that came by one day and was like, you need to play guitar again. He credited that person for getting him to start playing again. And then that's when he started really just trying to relearn how to play in a different way and then experimenting with his little tips
thing. Yeah, I think they're leather, or
he tried so many different things before he got to that leather finally, but it took so much trial and error for him to come up with the right attachment that would have the right sound, because if you use the wrong material, it's going to create a weird sound.
Yeah, and the way it touches the strings. Yeah.
So it was really interesting.
Wow.
Hearing that story from his perspective.
I love those biographies or autobiographies of
If you ever get a chance, you should read Ozzy, Tony, and Geezer's. Geezer's was the one that came out most recently. I think it came out last year. And that's the one I started with. And then I couldn't get enough. So I was like, I'm going to listen to Ozzy and Tony's too.
Yeah.
Ozzy's came out over a decade ago, but they were very, very interesting. It was so cool to hear the story of Black Sabbath from each of their perspectives. That's why I'm really hoping that Bill Ward puts one out.
Yeah. Are they similar, or do some remember things differently?
Yeah, there's definitely some overlaps. It's funny because they talk about some of the same things just from their different perspectives. But then Ozzy's was the funniest.
Sure.
As you can imagine.
Couldn't help it, yeah.
I mean, it really made me kind of see him in a different light and respect him in a different light. I've always loved him. But yeah, there were some overlaps, but there were certain things that were like, they saw it in a different way.
That ain't what happened. That ain't the way it happened. It wasn't me, it was you.
It's almost like Ozzy, I think Ozzy's came out first, and then Tony's, and then Geezer's. So it's almost like Ozzy put his out, and then Tony felt the need to put, they didn't bash each other or anything like that,
right,
but it's
good.
like Tony felt the need to put his out and maybe set a couple of little things straight, and then Geezer's came out. So it's almost like it was a chain reaction, although it was a span of several years. But you should definitely check them out sometime because they're very good.
I bet. I should. I will.
They're very interesting.
I read some of the Kiss Guys
Oh,
books.
I bet that was good.
I was a fan when they first came out, before they got huge. I saw them here at the Expo Hall, but their books are...
I need to check those out too.
They talk, Gene and Paul kind of talk bad about Ace. And Ace, he would be my favorite if I were still listening to him.
Yeah.
I like him. He's a lot of fun. His book's hilarious.
I'll have to check it out for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. He was a lot of people's favorite. Mm-hmm. And Gene and Paul couldn't seem to stand that. And the drummer's book, Peter Criss, his book was he's an interesting guy, I think. A fun book, and it's fun on audio, is Sebastian Bach's book.
I bet.
He's hilarious. He's a funny man.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you one of his songs, but he's my hero. And the reason why is because they did a show. I can't remember who all was on. Ted Nugent was on it. Sebastian Bach, the guitarist for Anthrax.
Oh, Scott Ian?
Yeah, and it was a reality TV show.
Oh, wow.
Supergroup or something like that. That may be the title. Supergroup. And they put them all in a mansion in Las Vegas, and they're supposed to write a song and become this supergroup.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't remember the bass player's name. I didn't know who he was. Anyway, when he became my hero was they had a little Porta Studio recorder, and they started working on their first song. And then they're on like a living room around a coffee table. And one of the other guys comes in and says, okay, well, we've got to go to this meet and greet and take some photos and promote the band. And he's like, well, let me finish this song. And like, no, man, we got to go. We got to go. We're on schedule. Man, we got to, he says, just let me rock.
With $1 in my hand and an aching in my heart and my pockets full of sand.
I'm like,
that's an awesome
yeah,
catchphrase.
man. He was, that dude, yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing.
I missed my loved ones so.
I love that. I'm going to start using that instead of leave me alone or something. I'm going to be like, just let me rock. That is amazing.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
That is great. What are some of your favorite moments from playing live music?
This be the time to rewind. Something that was exciting for me, meeting one of my real heroes. Nancy and I went to see Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jeff Beck play at the Omni on that tour. And a friend of mine was a rigger at the Omni, or other places also. But in between the sets, I saw him and his girlfriend, and I knew that she was going to be backstage. And I told him, well, if you're talking to Jeff Beck and he doesn't know where to go, like tell him to go to the Point and see the Tone Poets. I was joking. I didn't think they were going to tell him. And then we had to leave near the end of Stevie Ray Vaughan's set because I had a gig that night. But it was already set up, so Nancy dropped me off. We started playing. You could see the door, and I saw Terry Bozzio, the drummer, because he had this blonde hair with it tied up kind of, it's like, wow, oh no, don't tell me. And then Jeff Beck came walking in.
Oh my goodness.
We're playing, and I'm like, oh, there's Jeff Beck sitting there listening to us play.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. And that was a thrill to get to play and have him there listening. And then we hung out.
Wow.
And had some beers and shot the bull. And that was a great gig.
Yeah.
That was one of those gigs where we made no money.
Right.
But it was fine, yeah. Other gigs, they're all good. Most all of them are good. Every now and then something's not right. It's usually not the people in the audience. It would be something weird, something that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Can't think of anything in particular.
Well, that is a pretty epic story about Jeff Beck.
yeah, it was really neat. Yeah. My friend's girlfriend brought him there.
Wow.
He wouldn't have come to see us, necessarily, unless he just didn't know where to go. But she actually pulled through.
Wow.
When I said, tell him she brought.
That's clutch. That's a good friend.
Yeah.
Speaking of famous people, I remember you telling me about meeting Jimmy Page, and I just remember being super jealous. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. I knew that he had a house in New Orleans, and I believe he had a girlfriend. I don't know if he married her, but every time we'd go to New Orleans, I would tell Nancy, I said, keep your eyes peeled for Jimmy Page. You never know.
Yeah.
We never saw him, went there often, especially back in the 80s. And we were in the Riverwalk, and we passed by. There used to be a magic shop. I'm like, there's Jimmy Page. And Nancy's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's Jimmy Page. And went over and, excuse me, I don't mean to bother you. I just want to tell you how much your music means to me. And then Nancy came over and says, hello, my name is Nancy, and this is my husband. And Nancy said, I'll give you $1 if you take a picture with Corky. And he smiled and he said, no one's ever offered me $1 before for a photo. So we took a picture, and like we're cousins, we're both he's smiling, I'm smiling. We're like,
I remember the picture.
Yeah, it's like, so we left him alone.
Yeah.
We came back by and he was gone, went into the magic shop and said, what did Jimmy buy? Did he buy something? What did he buy here? And they said, he bought a crystal ball. And I'm like, wow. So all that, there's evidently some truth to his
some
magic.
Of their occult stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Or evidently. So we'll take one just like that one.
Early one morning, past the St. James Hospital.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I love that.
It was about the time, I don't know if he was in rehearsal, but it was right before he went out with the Black Crowes.
Oh, okay.
And he had the same thing on that he had on the cover of a magazine when he was with the Black Crowes. I'm like, wow, that's his uniform, I guess. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Poor cowboy who knowed he done wrong.
What's your favorite music to listen to these days?
Oh,
Spinning
gosh.
these days.
So much. Now we have Apple Music, and mainly just discovering new stuff or things I've never heard.
Yeah, me too.
God, it's so much, it's hard to name anything in particular.
That's how I am, because I'll play a song, I'll look up a song that I want to listen to and just play it, and then I have Spotify, and then it'll just start playing other songs related to it, and I'm like, ooh, who's this? And I go look and save it to a playlist, and then another few songs go by, and I'm like, ooh, who's that? And
Yeah, that's what I do.
Really
Same
interesting.
thing. I was watching an interview with Tony Levin, the bassist, who's played with, a lot of people played with King Crimson and Peter Gabriel. And it's one of those Rick Beato interviews. He does a lot of great interviews on YouTube. Anyway, he was naming people, and he mentioned, and I'm sorry that I can't remember the guy's name, long gone, but a jazz French horn player. Ooh. Which is pretty unusual, and I've been listening to some of his recordings lately.
wow.
Yeah, it's different. It has quite a range. You can get way down, way up high, and sometimes sounds like a trumpet sometimes.
Interesting.
It's a very difficult instrument.
Yeah. You'll have to send me his name whenever you get home.
It's in the phone over there. I'll tell you when we're done.
Could you come up with the top 3 favorite albums of all time? I know that's so hard.
Yeah, well, I can come up with...
For you, personally.
Yeah, one that meant a lot, I learned a lot from, Allman Brothers Live at the Fillmore East is one. Jeff Beck's Truth. Several of Jeff Beck's older albums would be in the running. There's so many.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so many.
I know. It's so hard to pick.
It would be hard to
favorites.
Put them in the, it's not enough room. Yeah.
That's how I am. And I'll separate it off into like my top favorite formative albums. I'll think about that sometimes because my top albums now are going to be different because my top formative albums are what I feel made me who I am today as a human and as a musician and all that kind of stuff. And then it'll be different for the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, my favorite.
It changes all the time.
Sure. My favorites I rarely listen to anymore.
Same.
Not because I'm so much burnt out on, but trying to make room for new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Taking some new stuff, yeah.
Yeah, on Spotify, they do a Wrapped every year. They show you what your top songs you listen to are of the year, and they'll give you a little category or label type thing. And mine this past year was Explorer or something like that, or Adventurer, because I listened to so many different genres. And I mean, I never limit myself to any particular genre. I like everything except modern pop country. I don't like that.
Oh, no.
And
I don't like it at all.
That's really pretty much it. I can get into, and I don't like some of the mumble rap type stuff, but I love old school hip hop from like early 2000s and before, and even some of the newer stuff, and then some pop music I don't like. But yeah, I'm all over the place with genres. I'll listen to pretty much anything, really. So let's talk about gear for a minute, and then we can go into your songs, which I'm excited about. Tell me about some of your favorite instruments that you own or have owned.
I have a Stratocaster, it's a 69, that is main guitar, and it's important to me, I think. I have a guitar called a Biltmore Herald, and that's the guitar I learned the first few chords on.
Wow.
It's the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
That my sister bought for my brother.
You still have that. That's amazing.
I didn't have it for a long time. A long time ago, after I'd moved out, my sister went to my dad, who still had the guitar, and she was wanting to learn to play guitar. And she said, "Can I have the guitar?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure. It's, you bought it for your brother. Of course you can take it." And she did. And then never played. She could play piano, but she didn't continue with the guitar. And then a few years ago, 5 maybe, I asked her about the guitar. And she said, "Oh, that old thing. I think we threw it out." She didn't really know. I'm like, "Threw it out?" And she said, "Well, it was busted." And I'm like, "Busted? Oh, no. Golly." So I was pretty bummed out. Then about a year and a half ago, she called and she said, "I found that guitar. Did you want that guitar?"
Oh,
and I'm like,
goodness.
Yeah, I want it. And got it. And it wasn't busted, but it needed some help. It needed some...
needed some love.
Yeah, it needed. So I took it to Roger Fritz, and he did the repairs. And so I've got that guitar. And
Wow,
it's
what a treasure.
Yeah, and it's not a valuable guitar. It's maybe collectible because it was probably built by Harmony.
Yeah.
But it's a big arch top, and it sounds pretty good.
That's amazing.
I like it, yeah.
What color is your Strat?
It's sunburst, or it used to be sunburst. It's pretty beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, do you have a dream guitar that you've always fantasized about that's either unattainable or you otherwise just don't have it yet?
Nothing so much unattainable, but I've always wanted a Gibson ES 175, and I've always wanted a Les Paul Jr., specifically a 57. There's some differences in the couple of years that they were manufactured. Anyway, that's one I would want. And I could have purchased one when I was about 17 for $175. And I didn't want it. I was like, it's only got one pickup. And later on, that became one of my favorite guitars because of Ariel Bender with Mott the Hoople. He played one on the live album, and it's great sound. It's great sound. But and now they're through the roof to purchase one. It's just like I can't fathom paying those amounts for a guitar.
Yeah.
The collectors and doctors and lawyers that can afford that stuff. They've made the price go through the roof. And anyway, what can you do? Maybe one to show up. I keep thinking one day a pawn shop thinks it's one of the reissues or something. They don't know what you never know.
Strike gold.
Yard sale, oh, that old thing. Yeah, you never know. Could happen. A couple of years ago on Craigslist, late 50s, can't remember if it was a 58, but a Sunburst Les Paul that's worth hundreds of thousands. A lady out in, I think she was in Wilmer, but I said, I'm not really sure in her ad. She was like, didn't really know the value. She should have already checked it out before she put it out there. But she said, I don't know how old it is, but all I know is when I was a child in the early 60s, my dad played it. And
wow.
Yeah, sent a message. I didn't hear back. And then the next day she said, a man came to the house and told me how much it was worth and gave me some money and said he had to go to the bank to get some more money. But anyway,
wow.
I don't know how it happened, but he may have gave her a large sum that she was tickled with that was not near what it's really worth.
Right.
Because they're like houses.
Yeah. That's
nice
crazy.
House. Yeah.
Oh, man. I listened to the Moody River single that came out. So when is the album coming out?
Yeah, Heartbreak, Misery, and Death.
Yeah.
Grayson's new album comes out October 25th.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's good. It's recorded here at Dolphin Street.
Oh, nice. That's so cool. What kind of touring schedule do you have coming up?
This Saturday, we're playing the Piney Woods Picnic, which is a little bit north, maybe northwest of Hattiesburg. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then we're going to Americana Fest in Nashville next week. And I don't have the exact venues where we're playing yet.
Yeah.
And then Grayson is going to go to Europe in October. I'm not going this time. A little time off, which is great.
Got burnt out in Colorado.
Yeah, that scenery gets old, believe it or not. As nice as it is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful out there, especially in the summer when it's so incredibly hot here.
Yeah.
And it's very nice out there. After a few weeks, it's like, okay, mountains. All right.
More
it's
mountains.
Great. Yeah, mountains, more mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But it's great. Definitely not putting it down, but, miss home. Yeah. I like being at home.
Yeah. Are y'all going to do any kind of album release party or anything like that?
I think the plan is to play at what was called Fairhope Hemp.
Okay.
And it's now called Johnny Mac's.
Okay.
I knew it was Johnny was in there. Yeah.
So is that going to be like a little
that'll be a release
thing?
party. Yeah.
Fun.
I can't remember the date.
Yeah.
I don't know if it probably is set, but I forget. Yeah.
You just show up.
Yeah. Let me know. Yeah. Give me a little heads up.
Yeah.
A few days, and I'll be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the single.
It's good, isn't it?
It is.
Last Saturday evening, I came to the old oak tree to stand beside.
It's really good. It's one of those songs that's very pleasing and relaxing and upbeat sounding with a little bit darker lyrics.
Upon the ground, your glove I found with a note addressed to me. It read, "Dear love, I've done you wrong. Now I must set you free."
Those are always interesting to me.
Yeah, it's a collection of songs that Grayson's always wanted to record. He's always wanted to do them, songs that he
That's awesome.
learned years ago and along the way.
I love
He
that.
picked them all out, and there's a few that are recognizable. Only a couple that people would know that one, but a lot of obscure stuff, good stuff.
Carefully curated,
Yeah,
like dream album.
it is
like
for
his
it is
dream.
for him. Yeah, exactly.
That's
It is,
really
yeah.
cool. Well, this has been a really great conversation and a lot of
great.
fun. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do the interview with me.
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing what songs you're going to do. So
Oh.
can you tell us a couple of the songs you're going to do?
Yeah, I had just a few things. I'm not a singer, and I've played instrumental stuff before, but I don't have a band with me. And so I didn't really know what to play. There's a few songs pieces I like. One's kind of a nursery rhyme or a children's song, but it's been done by a lot of pop artists. A lot of people have recorded it. It's I Can Sing a Rainbow.
Nice.
I might do a tune from a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, nice.
Which I've never seen the movie, but came across this song a while back, and it's written by the Sherman brothers, and they composed a lot of songs for Disney, like that, Mary Poppins, and all that kind of stuff. All those Disney, maybe not all of them, but lots of them. I don't know. I guess it just depends on what we have time for. I might make some little noises in between. Maybe. Should I just start playing?
That'll be fun. Thank you for joining me on my Sonic Seekers journey. All episodes are currently recorded at Dauphin Street Sound in Mobile, Alabama. Big thanks to them for always providing professional quality recording and hospitality, and a cozy environment for me and my podcast guests. They are amazing to work with, and they have recorded some legendary artists at their studio. Huge thanks to my good friends, the Jollies, out of Satsuma, Alabama, for composing and recording the Sonic Seekers intro music. All I told them was that I wanted something dreamy and shoegazy, and they churned out the most beautiful masterpiece I could have imagined. I'm honored to call them friends, and I'm always amazed at how talented and creative they are, and versatile. And most of all, thank you for listening to my passion project, Sonic Seekers. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you shalom.